Back in 2021, I remember lying down on the clinic bed and they were applying ultrasound fluid to my abdomen because there was a certain imagery that I needed to get done. And it was the second time I was there because the first time, the imagery, the checkup, and the medicines included, they couldn't exactly figure out what was going wrong. And the issue relapsed. So this was the second time I was there and I just wanted it to get over soon. Like it was such a, I hate checkups in general. And getting an ultrasound done was like damn, like get me out of here, get this done ASAP so I can go home. So I remember I was just majorly disassociated. I wasn't even in the present moment. I was just thinking about everything else. And there was this one realization that crossed my mind, which basically changed my life that moment onwards. I was working for a big four company at the time at an entry level job. This was, I think, my first or the second year in the company. And the first checkup costed me about 8,000 rupees, everything included. If the second checkup were to cost me the same amount, that would effectively be 2/3 of my paycheck. And the only reason why I'm able to foot this bill without thinking about it twice is because I'm supported by parents who A, are supportive and B, have done decently well for themselves. But if I had any responsibilities of my own, if I had someone's medical bills to pay, if I had rent to pay, or if I had to send money home, for example, I'd have been fucked because I would either have to pull out of my savings or pay rent late or get treated late, or whoever it is that's depending on me, they would have to suffer for a short while. And it was such a rude awakening because the only reason why I can maintain a standard of living or a quality of life, which seems like a bare minimum, at least from where I'm seeing it because I'm living it, is simply because I was born in the right place. I did nothing objectively right to deserve it. Which also means that tomorrow, if this happens to me and the support system is taken away from me, I would have no way to support myself out of it unless I figure something out. And it was a major defining moment for me because that also caused the switch that caused me leaving the company to become a fitness and nutrition coach. And the funny part is that that was always on the cards. Being a fitness and nutrition coach was always something that I sort of wanted to do, but it was also like, there was a lot of resistance, right? Because I would have to create content, or I would have to put myself out there, or I would have to switch industries and do something risky. Risky as in, I don't know whether or not it would work out. I don't mean illegal for all legal purposes. All that fear that I had of judgment, like if I create content, my friends are going to be like, oh, what, he's a wannabe influencer now. Or if I leave my job for this and it doesn't happen to work out and I have to crawl back to my old industry or my old job, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, see, what happened to that? You tried that, it didn't work out. And that fear of judgment that used to be so big at that point in time, it minimized to such a major degree because I realized that that was not even a real problem, at least in comparison to the prospect of having my life spiral down the moment my support system is taken away from me. And in the grand scheme of things, like comparing this reality bending issue that just came to my mind, or this realization, seemed 1,000 times bigger than my fear of judgment. And then because of that, because of how far apart they were on the scale, the fear of judgment that point on just became very irrelevant to me. Because I realized two things as a consequence of that. One, I realized that these people whose judgment I fear, they're not even real stakeholders in my life. Like today, if let's say I was footing this bill on my own, how many friends do I have who would actually help me cover this, if at all I asked for help? Maybe a couple of them. I do have close friends, but those are also the people who wouldn't judge me for a risky move. But the rest of those people who will judge me for maybe putting myself out there or going through a risky career switch, even if it fails, they're not even going to be there the day I need them. So I'm making permanent decisions that permanently hold me back from a better tomorrow or a better quality of life for people who aren't even going to be there when it matters most. And I was right, because this was back in 2021. Most people who I knew back in 2021 and I was regularly in touch with, I'm not in touch with anymore. My closest friend circle, barring like maybe one or two people, has changed significantly. In a lot of cases, when you know something might work out for you. Putting yourself out there, applying to a new job, applying to certain universities that you really want to get into, taking a drop year, starting that business with your friend, whatever the case may be, whatever it is that you're trying to do that you're holding yourself back from doing. If one of the reasons that's holding you back is a fear of judgment, I want you to think about two things. Number one, the objective cost of taking the leap. I want you to really break it down in mathematical terms or very logical terms. If, let's say, you were to take a gap year, or if, let's say, you were to start this business, what would the actual cost of that be? Are you really going to be worse off? Are you going to be better off? Worst case scenario, or do you just stagnate for an entire year? So, objectively speaking, if the cost of doing something isn't all that high, then the only thing that's holding you back is probably the fear of judgment of other people. And if you come from a place where maybe you don't have a lot of responsibilities on your shoulder, then that's most likely what is holding you back. Think about it. आप अपना रेंट नहीं भरते, आपको कोई मेडिकल बिल्स नहीं पे करने, आपको ऐसा कोई मेजर इशू नहीं है जो आपको होल्ड बैक कर रहा है, और अगर आप फिर भी कुछ चीज़ नहीं कर रहे हो तो वो एक ऑब्जेक्टिव कॉस्ट की वजह से आप हेल्ड बैक नहीं हो. आप शायद इसलिए अपने आप को रोक रहे हो because it seems like if you were to go ahead with this, there's going to be this major social cost, because objective cost तो है ही नहीं आपके लिए उतना ज़्यादा. If at all that's relevant for you, if you have responsibilities to shoulder, or if you already are footing people's medical bills, I understand that, and maybe this doesn't apply to you. But the second thing that I need you to realize is that आप जिन लोगों के जजमेंट को फेयर करते हो, whether वो extended family members है, whether वो आपके दोस्त हैं, colleagues हैं, जो भी है, जिन लोगों के जजमेंट को आप फेयर करते हो वो fucking होने भी नहीं है वहाँ पे. जब आपके साथ, जब आपको सही में किसी की मदद चाहिए होगी, वो होंगे भी नहीं. So they basically become the equivalent of वो लोग जो आपके लिए है नहीं, but उनका मुंह ज़्यादा खुलता है. And secondly, when time goes by, ऐसे लोग आपके आसपास रहते भी नहीं हैं. आप खुद ही सोचो, आई डोंट नो एज अ व्यूअर आपकी एज क्या है, बट आप खुद ही 5 साल डायल बैक करो. कितने लोग थे जिनसे आप बहुत क्लोज थे एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, जिनसे आज आप शायद बात भी नहीं करते हो. एंड एट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम अगर आपको उनके जजमेंट से फ़र्क पड़ता था, और अगर आज वो है नहीं आपके लाइफ में, तो फिर आप आज भी क्यों वरी कर रहे हो? बिकॉज यू आर टेकिंग परमानेंट डिसीजंस ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ समथिंग दैट, on the basis of very temporary opinion given to you or held by very temporary people. That's when you open yourself up to the possibility of defeating the fear of judgment, or the fear of what people think of you when you're about to do something. And once you do that, it becomes a 3-step process. Number one is desensitizing yourself to it. You desensitize yourself to something by exposing yourself to it. And I'm going to be using the example of content creation because वो मैं करता हूँ और वो मुझे सबसे ज़्यादा affect करता है. But this you can apply to basically anything under the sun. You can apply it to going to the gym frequently. You can apply it to public speaking, etc. You post once, you post twice, you post a few times, and there's going to be a point where you're going to be like, wait, hold on, this is that little racing feeling in my chest, that little burning sensation on my skin. I don't feel that anymore. Because now you've objectively realized that once I do this, it's not the end of the world. कुछ इसका कोई इतना negative consequence नहीं होने वाला, because of which it becomes a lot easier for you to do it time after time. And every time you do it, it becomes easier for you. You've done what people would judge you for. And when you realize that their judgment does not objectively affect you, it becomes easier to deal with the fear of judgment, because at that point in time, it just becomes a construct. It's not real. So the first step is to desensitize yourself to it. This usually is the most uncomfortable. Once you get to that point where it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not good at it, I'm probably still getting judged, but I don't really care all that much because अब इतनी बार कर चुका हूँ कि अब फर्क नहीं पड़ता. That's when you move on to the next stage. The second phase is the growth phase. This is where all of this repetition, all of this exposure is going to compound into sudden improvements. So let's say if you're a content creator, if you've been going to the gym as a newbie, or if you've been public speaking for a bit, this is where you actually start to notice like, like there's growth. I'm actually getting better at this. I'm better than the first time that I did it. This is where, because you're now desensitized and because you're not getting in your own way, this is where you can very consciously and even subconsciously, simply through exposure, get better, and get better by a fair bit. This is the moment where fear of judgment essentially also starts to turn into an anticipation for appreciation, because people actually do start appreciating you. Think about it. If you were to put out 10 pieces of content and they're all flops because you're new, right? Your friends are going to be like, oh, fucking want to be content creator, yeah, influencer banega sala. And then after that, something pops off and then you suddenly get 10,000 followers. Then it's like, like, congratulations, man, you worked hard for this. And it's like, oh, wait, hold on. There's another side to this coin. So I'm not just getting judged. There are people who actually like what I do and they also appreciate me. This is the phase where that happens. Now, once you've gone through these two phases, depending on whatever it is that you're trying to do, it might take you a little longer. But the third phase is essentially of excellence. You will eventually become the person that other people will come to for advice to do exactly what it is that you were scared of doing in the first place. So maybe you're that kid in the gym who's new. You don't know what to do. You don't know how machines work and all of that, and you're very afraid of judgment. You think everyone's staring at you, everyone's in their head making fun of you. You go to the gym 30 times, 31st time it's like, yeah, it's just a gym visit, man. It's just a workout. But then you keep doing it for a while, and then on your 100th session, someone comes up to you asking for help. Or maybe 1 year into your workout regime, or 1 year into your fitness journey, you're helping people with their form, or someone's asking you for help. Someone's asking you to spot them, or someone's asking you for advice. Your friends start asking you what they should be eating instead of what they already are. And that's when you cross that barrier into some sort of proficiency. I think excellence is a very heavy term. Let's call it proficiency, because excellence is much further down the road. I've been creating content for 3 years now. I still think I don't know what I'm doing. But I think I have a certain bit of proficiency that makes me good enough to maybe help other people. And that's the moment where fear of judgment तो है ही नहीं. Appreciation लेकिन काफ़ी मिलता है. The stages are: one, desensitizing yourself; second, getting better at it; and third, being so good at it that you don't think of judgment anymore because you're too crowded by the appreciation that you get for doing the things that you do. And once you're at that point, the people who secretly would never root for you, who would judge you simply because it's one of the most viable tools to hold you back, those motherfuckers, those bastards, those fuckers won't even stay around. Even if you were to conquer Earth tomorrow, they wouldn't even be in the picture. You wouldn't hear their name once. But yeah, that was my little word on the fear of judgment and why it's a very, very stupid place to be, which is objectively holding you back from whatever it is that you might end up achieving tomorrow. It's like permanent damage to your life for temporary opinions of temporary people. So yeah, you'll have come to notice that the setup has changed. We don't have a studio anymore because we don't need two cameras pointing at us. I don't want this to have heavy editing. I don't want a lot of B-roll. I don't want a studio. I think if I can't sit down and have a conversation with you guys that's meaningful enough, then I shouldn't be making this content in the first place anyway. And if you do need hyper-edited videos or something of that nature to stick around and to have the focus span to go through an entire video, then you're at the wrong channel, man. Then I'm not the guy for you. So anyway, let's call this a YouTube. I don't want to call this a comeback because this was always going to happen. But I hope you liked this one. If you did, I would appreciate you sharing it with a friend who might be going through a similar issue. Because while we do have a beautiful community on Instagram, and I'll put my, somewhere on the screen, there's going to be my Instagram link. But it's only through word of mouth that this channel will do better. So yeah, thank you so much for sticking around, and I hope to see you on the maybe next week.